Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, I'm sorry for waiting 10 minutes or 11 minutes. Yeah. Okay, dear all, thank you for joining our today's sessions, enhancing research experience sessions for this second batch program of this enhancing research experience organized by Faculty of Universitas Indonesia. We have several speakers. And now we have Prof. Taufik from California Polytechnic State University. He will deliver talk about establishing academic partnership with U.S. universities, opportunities and challenges. So now I'm going to introduce Prof. Taufik. Professor Taufik is currently Professor of Electrical Engineering at California Polytechnic State University, or we call Cal Poly State University, in California, US, since 2009, since June 2009. And then he is currently also Electric Power Institute at Cal Poly State University in California, US, since September 2011. He obtained Bachelor of Science from Electrical Engineering and minor in Computer Science from Northern Arizona University in 1993. He obtained Master of Science from Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at University of Illinois in Chicago. And then he obtained Doctor of Engineering from Electrical Engineering at Cleveland State University in US in 1999. He is currently senior member of IEEE, and also he is a member of American Society of Engineering Education. He was the chair of IEEE Power and Electrical Society Chapter Central Coast Sections. He is currently chair of IEEE Power and Electrical Society Chapter Central Coast Sections, started last year and still continue this year. And he was the chair of IEEE Central Coast Sections since 2004 until 2005. Yeah. He has so many awards and recognitions. In 2019, he received Outstanding Achievement Award in recognition and appreciations of the research contribution to the field of power electronics. So presented at the 2019 International Conference on Computational Science and Computational Intelligence in Las Vegas. So in 2013, he received a Power Engineering Society Chapter Outstanding Engineer Award, IEEE Central Coast Sections. In 2012, he received Outstanding Teaching Award from American Society of Engineering Education, Pacific Southwest Region. In 2018, he received Distinguished Scholarship Award from Cal Poly State University, San Luis Obispo. In 2005-2006, he received Outstanding Faculty Advisor Award, recipient Academic Advising Council from Cal Poly. And in 2018, he received Don and Paula Here Annual Award for Outstanding Club Advisement from Cal Poly State University. He received Outstanding Professor from College of Engineering, Cal Poly. Congratulations, Prof. Taufik. In 2014, Outstanding Professor is very awesome. Yeah. In 2005, he received 2 awards, a Professor of the Year. Oh, Fantastic. And also, most supportive professor, Society of Women in Engineering in Cal Poly. All right. Your achievements are very awesome. Okay. In industrial experience, yeah, he's currently engineering consultant of distributed energy resources at San Diego Gas and Electric in California since last year until present. And then he was also engineering consultant at Substations Engineering in San Diego Gas and Electric, California. And he was also a Summer Faculty Fellow in Distributed Energy Resources in San Diego Gas and Electric, California. So welcome to all participants online via Zoom and also YouTube channel. So you may interact with the speakers through Q&A. Okay, so thank you. Please enjoy the presentations from Prof. Taufik. So Prof. Taufik, time is yours.
All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nia, for the very nice introduction. Very nice and extended introduction of me. Appreciate it, and it's always an honor to be, able to share, at least some of my experiences in this kind of forum. So thank you for inviting me, Professor Wisnu. Thank you for inviting me again. It's an honor to be here, and pleasure to meet you, Dr. Harry, right? It's also a graduate of a U.S. university. And for those of you who have not met me before, I want to take this opportunity to introduce myself to all of you. Yes, my name is very simple, Taufik, and I don't need any first name, last name, just the single name, so that people know that I'm from Indonesia. Because that's one of the unique things about Indonesia culture is that we have one name, right? And that by itself, presents an opportunity for me as a faculty member here in the U.S. to introduce Indonesia every time I start, the quarter, very first day, teach a class. I always say that, my name is Taufik and I only have a single name because I was born and raised in Indonesia. So right away they know that I'm from Indonesia, not from the Philippines or Vietnam or, any part of the South, Pacific region. Anyhow, today I plan on sharing a little bit of my experience on establishing academic partnership and collaborations with the audience here today, with the participants here today, in the hope that it would promote future interactions between universities in Indonesia and universities in the U.S., especially faculty, right? Faculty members or university faculty members in the U.S. who are from Indonesia. I think that that by itself, should be something that that we should take advantage of, right? The fact that we have increasing numbers of university professors from Indonesia in the U.S. is really good news to hear, right? I'll tell you later on, but when I first started my work at Cal Poly back in 1999, there were only maybe a handful of professors from Indonesia in the U.S., maybe less than 10. Nowadays, at least we have 100 Indonesian who work as a faculty member in the U.S. Yeah. So let me start my presentation. And also another thing is that prior to COVID, we had a very good, I believe we had very good momentum when it comes to academic partnership between Indonesia universities and the US. But unfortunately, after pandemic, that kind of put a halt on this effort. And myself, I was supposed to have 3 PhD students from university in Indonesia visiting me in the fall of 2020, but then they had to cancel because of the pandemic. So hopefully, after the pandemic is over, inshallah, we'll have this momentum, still rolling, and still continue to, this effort of increasing the numbers of collaboration between Indonesia universities and the US. We'll see. So let's see. Let me share my screen here. Oops. Okay. Can you all see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Again, the title of my presentation today is to establishing academic partnership with U.S. universities, opportunities and challenges. These are the outline of my presentation, why U.S. universities, and then academic partnership, which I break down into 3 different areas: teaching, research, and professional development. And I'll talk a bit about challenges that I've experienced, as well as past experience or lessons learned from past experiences, and how to start, partnership with the U.S. universities. And I'll go over some past visits as examples of what we've done here at Cal Poly. So why U.S. universities? So I'm going to hopefully do this. I'm hoping that I'm not taking too much time to do this presentation, because I like the time to be used more for question and answers or discussions. Okay, so I'm going to go hopefully briefly to every slide that we have here. So first of all, why U.S. universities? Because number one, we have many universities in the U.S. About more than 5,300 universities in the U.S. And some of the universities are very specialized, colleges, like College of Arts type of universities, and then specifically for example, art schools or sports or whatever it is. We have specialized colleges in the U.S. And then we also have different types of universities, such as teaching and research universities. Right. So that's one of the that's one opportunity that I believe Indonesian universities should take advantage of. Right. That the more universities we have in the U.S., the better chance we get in terms of establishing academic partnership. And then, in addition to that, academic excellence. As you know, some of the U.S. universities are ranked top in the world, right? For example, based on the QS World Ranking in 2021, 5 of the top 10 universities are from the U.S. As you can see from the figure on the right. Right, MIT is number 1, Stanford number 2, Harvard and Caltech. The top 4 are from the U.S. And then number 9 is also in the U.S. in University of Chicago. And then Times Higher Education ranking, 7 of the top 10 universities are also from the U.S. So those are 2 different rankings. And then a lot of U.S. universities. We do lots of active research in advancing all kinds of fields, not just engineering or science, right? Economy, and then economy, arts, social sciences, you name it, right? There's always active research going on in many universities in the U.S. So it would be a remiss if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, right? And then in addition to that, many of the universities, such as Cal Poly, for example, we don't really, in my opinion, Cal Poly my own institution here, we're not really focusing on the big funding from the government, but rather our strength is collaborating with industries. So if you collaborate with universities like Cal Poly, for example, then you get the taste of how real-world projects are, from high-tech companies that involve universities, right? So that's another angle that university in Indonesia could also take advantage of. Right? If they are interested more in learning or knowing how sponsored industry project is being done in the U.S., especially involving high-tech companies, then definitely U.S. is one place to do it. As you know, U.S. is a host of so many high-tech companies, such as those in Silicon Valley. And yes, U.S. Spend the most in terms of money for research and development. So lots of money being poured into research and development, as you can see from this graph, right? You can see the circle is the biggest. That means that's the largest money being spent on R&D. And U.S. is leading the entire world in terms of money, being used solely for research and development. So amount to about 142.2 billion US dollars. That's in 2020. That's last year. I don't know about the number now, but probably pretty close to this number, right? So that's that's another resource, right? That's another opportunity. Is that there's a lot of money being poured in, and this money, some of them goes into universities, right? And universities would then absorb this money by hiring, lots and lots of graduate students, including PhD students, right? And then visiting scholars as well. So that's a big opportunity right there by itself, right? That the fact that we have, or the country offers so much money for research and development. And then other things that I believe would make the U.S. universities more enticing for doing research is that we have faculty members with very diverse backgrounds and expertise, right? Just like in other, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Other developed countries. Universities are being taught by, or faculty, I should say, faculty members in universities must have at least a PhD, right, or a doctoral degree for teaching in the university. So, so the expertise is there, and the backgrounds are also there. So it is a good resource for research, right, to do academic collaborations with U.S. universities. And then many universities also have state-of-the-art, laboratories, right? And many of these laboratories are geared for research, right? Some are for teaching, but research universities, they spend millions of dollars for developing research labs that are, high-tech as well. So that's another resource that we could take advantage of, right? That we can tap into and gain the benefit of using these facilities. Extensive library, that's another thing about university in the U.S. Almost every campus will have extensive library, right? Big library, and it's just a wonderful facility to be in. I don't know if you've been to the U.S. before, visit a campus in the U.S. before, and if the next time you do that, you'll see that the library is always a nice, building on campus to be in, right? And then socializing, this is kind of like not quite related, but it's still relevant. When you visit university in the U.S., you get the sense of the campus community. Having the balance between social life and academic life. And in order to support that, almost every campus in the U.S. will have recreation center and gym. Other than that, let's see. I've already talked about increasing number of faculty from Indonesia in the U.S. So that's another reason why I think it will be good to keep the momentum going on even after this pandemic, right? To increase or promote more partnership between the U.S. and Indonesian universities, because we have more and more faculty members in U.S. universities that come from Indonesia. I mentioned earlier we have approximately 100 faculty members in the U.S. who are from Indonesia, and it's still growing, right? Still growing. Looks like more and more PhD students who came from Indonesia who came to U.S. they stay here and start their career in academia in U.S. universities. So that's again, I'm hoping that would still grow, and grow until eventually we can be able to compete with, countries like India and China, who have so many, right? So many faculty members in the U.S. are coming from those countries, right? I know I mentioned we have about 100 Indonesians, working as a college professors here in the U.S., but that number is really nothing compared to the number of, professors or faculty members in the U.S. who come from India and China, right? So we still need a lot of work, or we still need a lot more people, hopefully, to be able to join, the network here in the U.S. and make the stronger collaboration, network with Indonesia, right? And then another reason is that university in the U.S. offer lots of scholarship opportunities, right? We offer, universities are typically offering graduate assistantship, teaching assistantship, research assistantship, right? All kinds of financial aid, right? Graduate assistantship works in administrative office while receiving tuition waiver. So basically, you don't have to pay for tuition if you work as a graduate assistantship. And then in addition to that, you also receive monthly allowance. And then another type of financial aid is teaching assistantship, right? In which you teach a lab or more than one lab course and then assist in a course while receiving, again, tuition waiver and monthly allowance, right? So no, you don't have to pay for any tuition. And on top of it, you get paid by the university, right? And then finally, research assistantship, right? That is where you conduct research with a professor or in a lab group, usually with other graduate students. And you also receive tuition waiver and monthly allowance. And, my experience that I've worked in those three types of assistantship. I started working as a graduate assistantship and then research assistantship, and then also teaching assistantship. So I've done all three. I can talk more about it, if you have questions about any one of these. But think about it, right? If you start academic partnership with a U.S. university, let's say a big one, right? A big research university, then you're opening a door, right, for not just your faculty members, but also your students, right? If you have faculty members who are still want to pursue, right, a PhD degree, for example, right? By having this connection beforehand, right, again, that would open the door of the opportunity of getting the scholarship, right? Because you already get to know some of the people in the universities, right? And you already know the different ways of getting this assistantship, right? Then I think it will again make it a better for a smoother, way of supporting your faculty members in getting scholarship, not from Indonesian government, but from universities in the U.S., right? And unfortunately, this is something that has not been taken advantage of by many students in Indonesia. As I said earlier, because of the fact that we lack the network compared to China and India, most of the scholarships, unfortunately, they were taken by students from India and China. So we need to get these words out, right? These opportunities, spread the words out that in the U.S. there's plenty of scholarship, right? Especially in the field of engineering and sciences, lots of them, right? In fact, if you're pursuing PhD, almost guaranteed that you should be able to get it. Maybe not the first semester, maybe the second semester, right? And also for your students, right? If you establish this academic partnership with the university in the U.S., then you're also opening the door to your students to be able to connect with campus community here in the U.S., whether it be getting scholarship or coming here as an intern, so on and so forth. Again, I could talk more about this if you have any questions about any of these. And then just so that you know who to connect to, right? Because really, I think when it comes to academic collaborations, you need to really determine which university will fit you the most, right? Not any university will work for any university in Indonesia, for example. Maybe for University of Indonesia, it will be best to collaborate with a big research university in the U.S. instead of with Cal Poly, for example. Being University of Indonesia, is a big research university. I think the best fit would be maybe, for example, collaborating with UCLA or Berkeley or something like that, right? Some other university that's big in research. And then there are universities in Indonesia who are really focusing on vocational type of education, right? And for that, maybe for those universities, it would be better for them to be able to collaborate with schools like Cal Poly, right, who are focusing more on undergraduate educations, right? So, so based on that, I think it's important for all of you. I don't know how many of you are coming from other universities, but it's important for campus communities in Indonesia to know the different types of universities in the US, right? For example, we have teaching university versus research university, right? And teaching university would focus more on teaching, typically small to medium in student population. Highest degree offered is master's, and lab courses typically taught by professors, and reputation is usually statewide or nationwide, right? So the universities such as this are usually strong in terms of involvement with industry, right? Hands-on type of project, right? Applied type of project. There you go. Whereas research universities, they're more into high tech type of advancing future science and technology, right? Big money, big funding, right? And so their focus is more on PhD, for example, PhD program, more so than undergraduate program. Just as an example, in California itself, I live in California. Cal Poly is in California, state of California. In California itself, the state of California, we have two different types of university systems. And to me, this is a model which I believe work very well in California, and it might be something that hopefully someday could be adopted in Indonesia as well. Maybe we'll see. But here in California, and of course every state is different, right? But in California, the university system is kind of unique because we again run two different systems, CSU and UC. Right? UC system, these are the system that has schools that people know about, right? And these are called University of California system, and it consists of 9 universities, and their focus is on state-of-the-art research. and they have very strong ties to government and research agencies. So lots of millions of dollars poured into these universities every year. And highest degree offered is PhDs, and their mandate is to prepare future scientists and academicians. And they're usually large in size and has worldwide reputations. Examples would be UCLA, UCSB, UCSD, UC Berkeley, and so on and so forth, right? As opposed to CSU system, right? CSU system is called California State University System, has 23 universities, right? A lot more universities. The reason being, we focus more on undergraduate educations, right? So being mainly an undergraduate institution, we focus more on, like I said earlier, involvement with industries. Right? So a lot of projects going on campus, for example, at Cal Poly, that involve companies, not research agencies like federal agencies such as NSF or NIH, but it's more like local companies or companies around us, right? So we do lots of projects with companies, and by nature, those type of projects are applied projects, right? And they're short-term projects, and they're hands-on, right? Really hands-on type of project, right? And preparing our students to be ready when they graduate. They're ready to hit the road and just being able to perform, right? So anyhow, those are the two different type of universities which I think should campus community in Indonesia should be aware of, right? So that they can pick the right university for them to collaborate with, right? And by the way, Cal Poly is a part of CSU system, right? Oh, sorry, going backward. Okay, yeah. And here's an example of ranking that is done internal in the U.S. You probably don't hear much about this ranking, but it is the ranking that university in the U.S. Look at. Right? It's called U.S. News and World Report ranking. So even within this ranking, they differentiate between universities that have PhDs and universities that don't have PhDs, right? So for this is just an example, okay? Just to make you aware that the difference between the two. So even this ranking categorizes, two different type of institutions, right? For example, here, top engineering schools where doctoral degrees offered out of 206 universities total in the U.S. These are the ranking, right? I'm just showing you the top 5. Is it? Yeah, top 5. Starting from MIT, Stanford, Berkeley, Georgia Tech, and Caltech. Right? These are the top 5 in engineering where PhD is offered. And then the same ranking also has this category, right? Out of 1,829 universities, a lot more than the other ones, the other category, right? These are engineering schools that have no PhDs, right? Including Cal Poly, right? And you can see these are the ranking. And I'm sure that most of you probably have not heard any of these schools, right? For example, how many of you have heard, Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, right? In the US, that's top notch when it comes to engineering program for undergraduate. Yeah, they're number 1. They're best, right? And then Harvey Mudd. Anybody here heard about Harvey Mudd before? Probably not, right? But if you go to the previous one, you've heard about MIT. Stanford, right? You heard about Berkeley. These are all world-renowned, universities. But teaching for undergraduate universities, typically we have, local reputation or national reputation instead of international. And Cal Poly, alhamdulillah, we actually rank top 10. So we are number, I don't know what number is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, number 8. And we're proud of this accomplishment because that's number 8 out of 1,829 schools. All right. So now let's move on to, now that you hopefully know a little bit about why I believe universities in the US will be a good choice for you to start collaborating with university outside of Indonesia. The next topic that I would like to cover briefly is these 3 different areas that we can try to achieve while doing these collaborations and partnership with universities in the US, as well as other countries, not just US, right? So the 3 main areas, first one is teaching, second one is research, and finally the professional development area. So we could do any one of these type of collaborations, any 1 or 2 or more or all, right? So you could do, you could start with collaborating with a university in the US on just teaching, right? You can start with that, or you can start with research, or you can start with professional development. What are the differences between all 3? Well, the goals are going to be the difference between all 3 areas. For academic partnership in terms of teaching, the goal there is to be able to expand, teaching and academic experiences for faculty and students, right? And then also to get acquainted with the U.S. system and explore scholarship opportunities offered by U.S. universities. So this could be done by, doing the teaching areas of partnership, right? And I'm listing some activities that we could do, right, under this umbrella of academic partnership in teaching. For example, activities for U.S. faculty at Indonesian universities. So, for example, myself, if I want to do this in Indonesia, some of the activities that I could do would be to help with, for example, course development, right? And this could be developing, undergraduate technical electives or graduate courses, right? And these are something that I've done before with, for example, University of Pajajaran, right? And then what else? I think that's. And then there's another one, another universities, Multimedia Nusantara, for example, right? That's another activity that I've done in the past related to this. And then also laboratory development, right? Assisting in developing new lab experiments and lab manuals, right? That's something that a faculty in the US could also could do while they're in Indonesia, for example, either remotely or physically in Indonesia, right? So we could do that as well. And then overall course development, such as to align with international accreditation. That's another thing that I believe US faculty can do at Indonesian universities, right? If, for example, your university has a plan for, revising or upgrading your curriculum so that it could be more aligned with international accreditation, then, we could definitely help that, right? I know that these days, there are different international accreditation agencies, right? Used to be that ABAT is one of the international accreditation that universities in Indonesia would seek for. But I believe nowadays they changed to, IB or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But I think they're under the same agreement, so it's the same standards. So even though faculty in the US have experience in ABAT accreditation, but those are still relevant, right? Those are still relevant because then, it's going to be the same standard applied for other types of international accreditation. And myself, I have the experience. I have the previous experience leading my department 2008, 2009, I believe. So I led my department in accreditation for ABAT, and at the time we received full 6 years accreditations, right, which is the highest. So I was really blessed with the experience. I was really thankful for the opportunity. It was really tough. One of the toughest job I've had at Cal Poly is to be leading the department in accreditation effort. And I remember after that assignment, my hair all turned gray. You can see the difference, between before and after I'm done with ABAT. But even though, again, as I said, Indonesia right now has a different agency for international accreditation, but if they still, are aligned with ABAT, and I could still, definitely I could still assist in terms of, giving you inputs on how to align your curriculum with international accreditation. Definitely something that we could do here. And then teach courses. That's another thing that U.S. faculty can do at Indonesian universities, right? Again, physically or online, right? Remotely. And you can do team teach a course, or you can do synchronous online, or you can do asynchronous online with pre-recorded videos, right? All kinds of, medium, right? Doesn't matter, right? But this is something that I believe will be easy to do, relatively easy to do, right? We have, as I said earlier, more than 100 faculty members in the U.S., from Indonesia. This is an activity that is really easy to set up, right? And it doesn't have to be, very formalized, right? And again, I speak on my own experience on this. I've actually started teaching at University of Pembelajaran from last semester. I started doing the teaching with a team teaching format. So that's what I did last semester. I taught a class with another faculty in Indonesia at Unpad, teaching a class there. Because I don't think I was ready yet to teach it myself, because it's totally different, I believe, teaching here in the US and teaching a class there in Indonesia. So I went slowly, I went gradually by doing teaching first. And so starting this semester, I actually teach, I've been teaching 2 classes at Unpad, right, remotely. So now I'm teaching those classes myself without doing any team teaching. But again, this is just an example. And there's other, faculty members from Indonesia here in the U.S. Take advantage of us. I think any one of us will be, more than happy to do this for universities in Indonesia, right? And then we can also serve as an external faculty advisor to undergraduate senior projects. I've done this before with several universities, right? Muhammadiyah Malang is one of them. That's the one I recall. And then Brawijaya University, I've also served as a faculty advisor to their undergraduate senior projects. And external faculty advisor for MS thesis as well as PhD dissertation, right? ITS, Institut Teknologi 10 November, right? They've already had several of their PhD students with me as the external faculty advisor, right? And I said earlier that I was supposed to have 3 PhD students coming last year for doing research at Cal Poly, and they all come from ITS, doing their PhDs, and they want to do the research portion in our labs at Cal Poly. So we could do that as well, right? And then finally, facilitate joint senior projects and thesis. That's another thing that we could do. Is that if I have a senior project here with a company, right? I usually get those every year, and if the company allows me to have international partners or observers, then I'll be more than happy to have you, participate in the projects, right? So you can directly be involved with the project, right? So you get to learn the different types of projects that companies here in the U.S. bring to universities, right? Same thing with thesis. And as an example, this year I have a project with NASA, but this is actually a contractor of NASA, and we're doing some power supply for some satellite, a small satellite, and I'm designing the power supply for that satellite with my students. And we actually invite some faculty members from Saudi Arabia and his students into our meetings. So they are participating in the participating in the project as an observer as well as active members, right? So they try to help with the design, even though their role is just just a little bit of the design portion. But I think that's good, right? Exposing their students to project from NASA, So I think that's an awesome thing to have, right? And again, this is something easy to set up, easy to do, right? And then activities for Indonesian faculty at the U.S. universities. So if yourself, any participant, if you are a lecturer or faculty members in Indonesian universities, what can you do at U.S. universities? Well, there are several things that you can do. You can do faculty exchange program, but this one would require formal MOU. And this is probably a very hard road to go to. I'll talk more about this later, about the challenges, right? I'm going to save it for later. And then a faculty exchange program is when you come to a U.S. university, and has to be a one-to-one exchange, meaning that if you already signed the MOU, institution to institution, right? Then a faculty member from your university will come to, for example, Cal Poly, right? And then you will be at Cal Poly to teach classes. And then one faculty member at Cal Poly will have to go to your university physically, right, to also teach classes there, right? So that's how faculty exchange program, works. Has to be one-to-one exchange. Has to be one-to-one exchange event, right? Every time. So it cannot be just one. It cannot be just one faculty member from Indonesia to come to Cal Poly and nobody from Cal Poly goes to Indonesia. That's not going to work that way, right? So it has to be exactly one-to-one. And I can tell you that at Cal Poly, so far the one that's been working for faculty exchange program is with Germany. So we have very good one-to-one faculty exchange program with university in Germany. So almost every year we send, or Cal Poly sends, one faculty member to Germany, and then university in Germany sends their faculty member to Cal Poly, right? With the same field, and this one has to be the same field too, right? So that's a true one-to-one exchange. So, for example, a faculty member. For example, I am going to, for example, a university in Indonesia, for example. Let's say I'm going to University of Indonesia, right, to UI, right? Since my background is in power electronics, then UI has to also send their faculty member whose expertise is in power electronics. So it has to be the same, matching expertise, so that the faculty member from Indonesia can teach classes that I usually teach here. Whereas the same thing for me, right? When I go to UI, I will have to teach the same courses that that faculty teaches at UI, right? So that's the deal under faculty exchange program. And then postdoc, that's another teaching, type of collaborations. But postdoc is mostly research. Right? Even though I put it right here, the reason why I put postdoc right here, because even though you are hired as a research research faculty member, but you could as well teach classes here while you are doing your postdoc, right? So you can do teaching as well as research as a postdoc. And then what about students, right? Activities for Indonesian students at U.S. universities. Again, several things. The first one is internship, right? Internship is semi-formal. It doesn't require MOU. And students spend a quarter or semester at U.S. universities. They can take classes, seminars, whatever it is, while they're here. And then the funding, come from home universities, or in this case, University in Indonesia. Right? And then while they're here, they can take classes, seminars for free, right? So that's the part that the universities in the US will support in terms of funding. They don't have to pay for taking those classes, but living cost, what else? Travel costs, housing, those have to come from the home university, right? The university where they're from in Indonesia, right? And then they can also come here to conduct senior project while they're spending their semester here. They could conduct, their senior project on U.S. universities. And then student exchange. Student exchange is similar to faculty exchange, one-to-one. Has to be formal and it requires MOU. Again, these two are student exchange and faculty exchange. These are these take longer process to go through, right? And once we sign the MOU and then we do the student exchange, then the students who come here to the US, they will have to take classes, whereas internship they don't have to. Student exchange they have to, and then their classes that they take will count toward graduation units. And one thing that I forgot to type here is that for student exchange, when they come here to the US universities and take classes, they don't pay the tuition here, right? They pay the tuition at home universities. That's the advantage of student exchange, right? So even though they're taking classes here in the US, they're paying tuition just like they pay, their tuition all along, in their home universities, right? But again, the key here is that it has to be one-to-one exchange. So if you are sending one student from your university to Cal Poly, for example, then we have to have one Cal Poly student also going there to your university, right? All right, so that's teaching. The next one is research. The goal here is to promote collaborative research activities and increase international publications, right? So what kind of activities we can do? A lot, right? We can do joint research collaborations where you can first identify, strategic planning or initiatives on research, which is unique to every university that intersects with research capability at the US university counterpart, right? And then you can list faculty research interests and match with counterparts at the US universities. And this is where we can leverage universities' interests and investment and match it with whatever it is, whichever university that you see fit, right, for this purpose. And that's joint research collaborations. Secondly, you can also do a faculty visit to Cal Poly, not to Cal Poly, but to any university, sorry about that. Not just to Cal Poly, but to any universities as a visiting scholar, right? So when permitted, you can participate as an observer as well as or active member in research or any sponsored, including industry-sponsored projects. I think I mentioned this earlier as well, that when you visit a university as a visiting scholar or scientist, you could get involved with projects that are internally being conducted at that U.S. universities, right? I have an example where 2 years ago, we had this visiting scholar from Universitas Sumber, right? From UNED, right? Universitas Jember. And he came and then he did a project with one of my colleagues in, I don't know what exactly, but it has to do with antenna. Not my field, but he did that project, and his face is on the news, so it's good for him to get exposure like that. And then visiting researcher or scholar, you will conduct research at the U.S. universities, and you will have a faculty mentor while you are here. And then you can also, instead of conduct research, you can also write and publish papers and attend conference to present paper. This is what I usually do. If I have a visiting scholar from Indonesia, I usually arrange for them to be able to attend conference and to present paper while they're here in the US, right? And then what is the last one here? Got covered. Hang on a second. Co-authoring book. Okay, so the last one, you can also come here and as a visiting research or a scholar, if you are in the phase of writing a book, and you want to do that with a faculty member here, you can also do that, if that's something that you want to do as a visiting scholar. All right. Oh, how do I do this? There you go. And then joint grant proposal writing, right? Funding sources from Indonesia or US or international agencies. So I've done this several times with several faculty members in Indonesia, Pembelajaran University, Brawijaya University, Polytechnic Negeri Malang, ITS. I've done so many of these. What is the other one in Surabaya? Uphara in Surabaya. Right, so I've done this, and again, this is something that's easy to do, right? Doesn't have to be, formalized type of activity. And then joint conference and journal papers. This is what I also like to do. I've done this a lot as well with faculty members in Indonesia from, many universities. What I do here is that many times, faculty members in Indonesia are having problem submitting. Not submitting, but coming up with a good paper that could be published in whatever it is, Q1, Q2, Q3, whatever it is, right? And I think the main issue typically is English, right? And they're not confident with their English, and usually they got rejected because the English needs to be fixed. So if you are if that's something that you feel like that would be a good activity to have, take advantage of. Any faculty in the U.S. from Indonesia, any one of us from Indonesia, take advantage of us. Ask for help, and we'll be more than happy to do that, right? If we get the time to do it, of course. But usually this is what I've done in the past as well. Like I said, I've done it many times, and I usually fix the English, making sure that the English is good, and then the only thing that I would ask, of course, is to include me as a co-author, right? And it doesn't have to be electrical engineering related, right? It could be any type of paper, because I think the problem there is not the technical content of the paper, but rather is the English, right? So I'll be more than happy to do that. And I've done, papers that are not really in my areas, quite a few of them, right? So when I read the papers, I had no clue what this paper is all about, right? Technically, they're good, looks like, but, the English is all over the place, right? So that's something that I could definitely, try to help. And most recently, I actually helped with one paper who just recently got published in one of the journals. I think it's from ITB, and the faculty member was from Surakarta, from Solo. I don't remember the name now, sorry. But anyhow, so I've done a lot of this. And then in addition to that, if you're interested, this is also something that I've done in the past for a long, long time and many, many times. It's what I call one-to-one publication, right? To me, this is a simple way of increasing productivity as well as improving efficiency when it comes to budget and effort, right? What I'm proposing here is this, right? Since I'm here in the US and you are physically in Indonesia, right? It will be difficult for example, for me to travel to Indonesia to attend a conference, right? There are conferences in Indonesia that I like to attend, but many, many times I don't have the time to travel. Even though I have the papers to write, but I don't have the time to travel. So why not, for me, why not I ask a faculty member in Indonesia to attend the conference, pay the fees and attend the conference, and I submit the paper, and I will put his or her name as a co-author with the condition that whoever that faculty member is, he or she will also have to write a paper that will be in the US, because for you, right? You being in Indonesia, it's going to be hard for you to travel to the US, and it's going to be expensive as well, right? So if you have a paper that you feel that you think is going to be good for a conference, and you want to publish it in the conference that is held in the US, but you don't have the budget, you don't have the time, you can definitely contact me and see if I can do that for you, right? So it's a one-to-one publication. I'll pay the registration fee and I'll attend the conference and I present it for you, right? So that's one-to-one publications, which I believe works very well to many faculty that I worked with in the past, right? So again, this is just from me. I'm sure other faculty from Indonesia and the US will also be more than happy to do this kind of thing, right? And then another thing, patent development. If you like to have a US patent, for example, and you feel like, wow, if you want to get a US patent, it's going to be so expensive, right, to go through. Believe me, it's very expensive to process, a US patent, about maybe $12,000 to $14,000, just to process a patent in the US. But the thing is, if you work with a US faculty, right, you work with US faculty on the fruition of your original idea, then that would give you a chance, right, to be able to patent your idea with the help of US faculty, so to co-inventor basically, right? Your idea, but you get help from US faculty, so therefore the US faculty becomes the co-inventor. And then the US faculty could then process or file your idea through, the US university as a US patent. So basically, the US university is filing your patent, right, through US faculty, right? And again, I think the catch there is that you have to have the US faculty name as the co-inventor, right, in order to be able to do that. So that way you don't have to pay the pricey $12,000 to $14,000 for just processing the US patent, in case you're interested in something like that, Okay, and I know it's expensive because I've done at least two. I've done actually 3 US patents. I've actually just submitted the 3rd one recently, and they're expensive. And that's why I'm going through Cal Poly, because if I do this through Cal Poly, my school, then they would pay for everything. They would pay for everything, so I don't have to pay for any filing fee for US patent. Right? So that's what I've done in the first 2 patents. Cal Poly pays for everything. And then the last is professional development, enhances faculty's technical and soft skills. And for this, we can, sky's the limit, basically, right? If you have ideas on how to, improve, again, technical skills and soft skills, let us know. We can do something like teaching effectiveness type of presentation, how to write, papers, studying and getting scholarship in the US, new teaching methods and tools, industry standard design software and tools, which I believe is important, right? If you want your students to be more competitive, right, with other students from China or India, right? If let's say your university is already internationally accredited, then that opens the door for your students to be able to get a job in the US, right? But in order to get a job in the US, it's not just a matter of getting accreditation, but also you have to prepare your students with the right knowledge, the right skills, right? And one of them is to be able to have your student learn of the industry standard design software and tools that we use here in the US, right? So I think that's something that could also be done here. And as I said, sky is the limit. You can always, come up with specific topics and other topics for us to be able to help you with. All right, let's talk about challenges, right? So I'm going to go straight to MOUs, right? Because I think this is the biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle when it comes to collaborating with Indonesia. On one hand, universities in the US, usually they don't need any MOUs, right? All kinds of activities, not all kinds, sorry, majority of research activities are done informally, right? Only a few would require MOUs, right? And this is a big challenge for us, to be able to collaborate with Indonesian universities, because, unfortunately, I think it's part of the policy here in Indonesia, I believe, right? That you need MOUs, right? Anytime I talk with I talk about collaboration with Indonesian university, the first thing that I would ask is, what about MOU? As I said, universities in the US, they don't usually require MOUs, very informal type of collaborative partnerships, right? Even other countries in the Southeast Asian countries, such as Thailand, Malaysia, they don't require MOUs when they do academic or partnership or collaboration with the US universities. And I've done collaborative research with Malaysian universities and Thailand, and they don't require MOUs. The ones that require MOUs so far that I know of is Indonesian universities and Philippines, right? So Philippines, just like Indonesia, their university like to have MOUs. And unfortunately, in the past, we have, this is again from my past experience, right? In the past, I had so many MOUs with many universities in Indonesia. And not just me, other faculty members at Cal Poly had many MOUs with other universities, right? And then I think one day, I think they find out that all these MOUs are just sitting, in the cabinet doing nothing. There's no follow-up. So lots of MOUs, but very few follow-ups, and that happened to me too. I had about maybe 14 MOUs with universities in Indonesia, and very, very little follow-up, which is kind of disappointing, But that's I think the reason why right now, not just Cal Poly, but I would say almost all universities in the U.S. are really restricting the issuing MOUs. So it's becoming more difficult nowadays, very difficult, I would say, to get an MOU done with universities in the US. The last MOU that I've done recently, that was last year, it was done last year, was with Universitas Gadjah Mada. And that took 2 years. I don't know if you hear me, 2 years to process and to finish. And that's just ridiculously long. Right? And I believe it's just a sign from the university that they really discouraging faculty members to have MOUs with universities abroad. If you want to do research, just do research. Why do you need MOUs, right? I think that's kind of like the mentality of the universities in the US, which is again different from what I'm seeing in Indonesia, right? But if you are okay doing this collaborative research without MOUs, then I think that will be easily done, right? Because again, U.S. universities usually don't require any MOUs except for faculty exchange and student exchange, right? And even for student exchange, both actually, faculty and student exchange, the MOU requires that the university that is doing the MOU with the U.S. university must have equal level of accreditation, right? So, for example, Cal Poly is ABET accredited. So if you want to have an MOU, let's say with University A in Indonesia, then that University A in Indonesia has to be accredited by an international agency that is at the same level as ABET, right? Otherwise, it's not gonna go through, right? So it's really, really hard to get MOU these days, especially for faculty and student exchanges. Another challenge that I've encountered while I'm doing collaborative activities with universities in Indonesia is the time difference, right? We have about 11 plus hours of time difference between Indonesia and the US. So that would limit the time we can do meetings, do projects online, virtual meetings, things like that, right? And then funding. Right? So funding typically is very strict as well. So not usually provided for any international collaborative activities, except for faculty exchange, where the university will say that it has to be net zero budget, meaning that they would still accept the faculty if the faculty is not charging the university, and likewise our faculty from Cal Poly, for example, is not charging any money to the university. Same thing with the student exchange, right? It has to be net zero budget. A student pays tuition at home institution in Indonesia and doesn't charge anything to our university here. So those are kind of like the summary of challenges. Past experience, student exchange program is difficult to sustain since it requires one-to-one exchange. Right? I would say the most popular student exchange program at Cal Poly, at my institution, would be to Germany and to Australia. We had one before, we tried one before to Philippines, and it didn't go. I mean, it only lasted for 1 year because we couldn't find any Cal Poly students who are interested in going to Philippines, right? So that's the hard part, right? Is that finding any students from Cal Poly, for example, to go to Indonesia, for example, to study. That's going to be a challenge, right? So that's the first experience I've had in terms of past experience in terms of the challenge. And then faculty exchange program requires, again, one-to-one exchange as well. And so we need faculty member who is acclimated to the US living with good English speaking skill, right? So that, I don't know, I think nowadays, I believe we have more and more faculty members in Indonesia who have this capability, right? I don't think this is a problem anymore. But the point is, right, whoever is coming to the US, right, to do the exchange program, he or she would have to have, very good English speaking skill, because that person will have to teach in front of a class, right? And therefore requires good English communication skill. And then I thought I should list low-hanging fruits type of activities, right? Something that are easy to set up, easy to do, right? We can do it right now kind of thing, right? So some of the activities that we can do will be, co-author conference and journal papers. We can definitely do that easily, with nothing to set up here, just contact me or contact any faculty members from Indonesia. I'm sure they're willing to help. And then technical presentations, right? That's easy to do, set up as well, just like we're doing now, right? Very easy to set up. Lecture series, right? If you like me to do some lecture series, which I actually did last semester, I did it for vocational school at Diponegoro University. I did, I believe, 2 weeks of lecture series. I don't remember exactly. I believe it was 2 weeks. Right. So I did a lecture series on power electronics. And then external faculty advisor to PhD students. Again, that's easy to set up. Team teaching, easy to set up, right? Part-time teaching, again, easy to set up. And, writing grant proposals. So these are examples of, low-hanging fruits type of activities, right? That you can just, like I said, do it right now, right? We can do this right now, right? I mean, so to speak, right? And then lastly, visiting scholar. Researchers has been the popular activities for faculty visiting US campuses. So that's my past experience, is that this has worked very well, right? Quite a few faculty members from Indonesia visited Cal Poly in the past. Almost every year I had at least one until Corona hit, But, hopefully after Corona I get more visiting scholars, and it works very well. Right? And it doesn't have to be my field. It could be a different field, and I can, match. I can find a match for whoever faculty is coming here with different field that I'm. Right? How to get started? I think it's just very simple things to do. Right? You contact the faculty member and initiate the discussion for exploring the collaboration. I think as simple as that. Right? Typically, that's what. How my collaboration started. Somebody from Indonesia contacted me and say, hey, we're interested in doing this and that, right? Would you be interested as well? And I say, yeah, let's explore. Let's have a Zoom meeting and let's explore, see if there's a match between your campus and my campus, right? And then I suggest that you contact, or you can check out this website. There is an organization called Ikatan Ilmuwan Indonesia International. I4, right? I believe they have a list of all the faculty from Indonesia outside of Indonesia, including the US. So if you're interested in the US, starting collaboration with faculty member from Indonesia in the US, hopefully if you get the list, then you can, pick one that matches with your interests, right? Unfortunately, I don't have that list. If I do, I can just attach it here. Same thing with KBRI Washington, D.C., the Indonesian Embassy. I remember about a couple of years ago, they run this list. They also have a list of the latest Indonesian diaspora, not just college faculty, but also diaspora. So you might be able to get that list if you contact them and try to find your match there. Again, unfortunately, I don't have that list. Otherwise, I'll be more than happy to share. And if worst comes to worst, you can also contact me to help you find the right person to collaborate with. If you say, okay, I'm interested in starting academic collaboration with somebody in chemistry or in computer science, right, or something like that, then I'm not from those areas, but I could hopefully find faculty members in the US from Indonesia who have the same field or related field with the one that you're looking for. Okay. All right, so these are just the list of past visiting scholars from that visit me to Cal Poly. Right, we have 3 undergraduate students from Philippines, 6 PhD students from Indonesia, and these are the list from Malaysia too. Sorry, not just Indonesia. There's one from Malaysia as well, and then we have 2 undergrad students from Thailand, and then we have past university visits from Gajah Mada University, ITS, Pembelajaran, and even Kementerian Perdagangan Republik Indonesia. Just to give you some examples. These are pictures of them when they visit Cal Poly. Ibu Oni from Brawijaya, Pak Fredo from Jember, and almarhumah Ibu Pratiwi from Polinema. And these are the 2 students from Thailand. PhD student from Malaysia, Tun Hussein, I believe, Malaysia. And here's another sad news, right? Professor Anang from Penn also passed away recently, visited us as well. And then Ibu Ros from Mataram University. Oh, and then, sorry, more pictures. A group of faculty from Gajah Mada, Pak Sarjia and Professor Rahmawan, I believe. And then, keep forgetting his name, sorry. If you're here, sorry. From ITS. And then a group of faculty from ITS as well. That was the last visit before pandemic, right there. Right. Okay. That is it. And if you want to, take notes on my contact email, feel free to do so. And let's do this together, shall we? And that would end my presentation for today. Lebih dan kurangnya saya mohon maaf. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Taufik, for great presentations. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we have 2 questions here. Audience wants to ask. First is from Mr. Benny Satria Andoko. Yeah. Yeah, dear Prof. Taufik, it's been an honor to meet you. My name is Ando, currently a lecturer of State Polytechnic of Malang, Polytechnic Negeri Malang. As part of Polytechnic's lecture in Indonesia, we are still struggling to compete with other universities since the regulations for Polytechnic to have the same degree as university is quite new. So he has several questions. Is Polytechnic in US similar with Indonesia? And what makes it different with other university or institute in US? And how about the curriculum? And then would it be fine if someday Mr. Ando can have a fruitful information or discussion with you in the futures? Yeah, I think I agree with these questions because I'm also working at Polytechnic Negeri Semarang. So yeah, so it will be good. Maybe you can inform what is the difference between Polytechnic in US and Polytechnic in Indonesia. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Yeah, thank you. Is it Ando? Mr. Ando, right? Is that the name?
Yeah,
Mr. Ando, from Polytechnic Negeri Malang. That's have I met you before? Because I've visited Polytechnic Malang for many times. Almost, yeah. Have I met you? No?
Hello, Mr. Ando. Mr. Ando, maybe you can write in the chat box.
Okay. Never mind. I thought you can speak. But anyhow, every time I go to Indonesia, I make sure that I always visit Malang. I got lots of friends there. Different faculty. Okay, yes. Yeah, and then I've done several events, several seminars at Polynema. Again, every time I go to Indonesia, I always make a visit to Polytechnic Malang. Anyhow, to answer your questions, in the U.S., there is no, quote unquote Polytechnic anymore. We are all universities, so there's no difference between university and Polytechnic, quote unquote, again in the U.S. In the past, if you look at the history of Cal Poly, for example, we were a Polytechnic college, almost like your institution, Polytechnic Malang. But I believe starting in early 70s, I believe, that everything is converted into universities. So there is no difference now between Polytechnic and university. So we are a university, but since our university has already been known as a Polytechnic college, therefore we still use that name Polytechnic in our name, right? Because people already know us by Cal Poly, Polytechnic. So in the US, there's no difference. We have the same standard, right? We all accredited by ABET. When we offer a degree in electrical engineering, for example, that's going to be the same electrical engineering as you would get from MIT or from any other university that ABET accredited, right? So there's no difference there. I think the difference, though, is that since we originally a Polytechnic college, we still bring that flavor, right? We still have that flavor of Polytechnic flavor in our curriculum. Meaning, if you look at our curriculum, you can actually access our curriculum. You can go to our website. If you are from civil engineering department, you can go to our civil engineering website. You can see our curriculum. You can tell, including electrical engineering program, you can tell that our Polytechnic, flavor is still thick, meaning that we still have lots of labs, right? Almost every single required class has a lab associated with it, right? It's a required lab with a core class, and that is usually doesn't happen. That's usually not happening with other universities. For example, I graduated from my undergrad from Northern Arizona universities. And I remember when I went through the program, I only took, to my recollection, I only took maybe 6 at the most, 6 labs, 6 lab courses from EEs though, okay, from electrical engineering, only 6. Others are from chemistry department, physics. I'm not counting those, but strictly from the electrical engineering program, I took only 6 or 7. At Cal Poly State, for example, if you go through the same undergraduate program at Cal Poly, you will have to take 14 required EE lab courses. That's a lot. That is a lot of labs, right? So I think that is the difference. Is that if you look at the ingredient, there you go, the ingredient of the curriculum, they all pass the threshold of ABET, but Cal Poly has additional, extra components that are still sticking in, and that would be the lab portion of the curriculum. So that's the answer to your question of the first one. And then what is the second one? I don't remember the second one now.
About curriculum.
What is it?
How about the curriculum?
Yeah, so that's it, right? So the curriculum is that we are still heavy in labs, right? So if you look at our labs, very heavy.
Like a Polytechnic in Indonesia, heavy in labs.
It's just like Polytechnic. Yeah, exactly. It's just like Polytechnic in Indonesia. Yeah. So it's just like now we are not Polytechnic college anymore. We are university, meaning that we have other other colleges, right? Business college, the College of Business, College of Math and Science, College of this and that. It's just like a regular university. Yeah. But the name sticks because that's what we are known for. And I don't know if you know, have you heard Virginia Tech? That's a big university, isn't it?
Yeah.
And go ahead and check out their name. Their name is actually for Virginia Polytechnic State University. Right, but they're known to be Virginia Tech. But if you look at their official name is actually Virginia Polytechnic, right? Same thing with RPI. Have you heard about RPI? That's another big school in the U.S. research school, right? Rensselaer Polytechnic, right? Rensselaer, that's Polytechnic, but it's a research university, right? Yeah. If you look at RPI, it's even weird or awkward because their name is Polytechnic, but they're actually a big research university. Yeah. The same level as UCLA, UC Berkeley. It's even awkward there. Anyhow, yeah. So that's it. And then what's the last question?
Last questions he wants to discuss with you in the future.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and then as I said, I try to visit
and drop emails to you. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy. Yeah, and if you know somebody from the electrical engineering department there, ask them. In now the names escape me now. There's so many of them. I just don't remember the names now. Bu Ika, yeah, Bu Ika is there. Oh, yeah, Almarhumah Bu Prativi, you know her. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, feel free.
Yeah,
thank
you. Yeah. So we move to the next question from Bu Mary Nansilia Permanasari. How about U.S. postdoctoral fellowship and courses? About fellowship, postdoc.
Yeah. So a postdoc is typically an appointment, right? Meaning that you work. It's not a student anymore. You're not a student anymore. When you're a postdoc, you're a researcher. You're a research scientist.
Yeah.
So you get a full-time salary.
We will have a salary, yes.
You have a full-time salary. And if you want to take classes, you could. But I think you have to pay yourself those courses. Unless you have the agreement with the university that, part of the contract maybe, right? If you sign the contract, you could say, as part of the contract, can I take also classes? Then they can cover the costs, maybe. But I think in general, right? In general, a postdoc is a full-time employee, and you have to have a PhD, right? That's a requirement. And and then I think it's good if you would like to expand your research, network, research capability, right? Experience by being a postdoc, right? If you feel like your PhD is not enough, you want to get more exposure, I think that's a good way, right? But if I were you, I would try applying for a job, like a real, full-time job at industry. The reason being, you get paid much more than a postdoc, and then you get all kinds of access if you are working for industry, right? Really, what do you call it? The nuts and bolts of the research is in industry, right? So to me, a postdoc is unfortunately it's a low-pay PhD job, to put it in a blunt way. Right, but again, it's good if you feel like you want to have the experience of having more extended research, so that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Next, last questions from my colleague, Ibu Nurini, from Polytechnic Negeri Semarang. Yeah, is it possible to have some series of online lectures from Poly faculty members to our students? I mean, do we need a kind of MOU, maybe between Polynes with the Poly?
That's a good question too. So I think this is where having this personal relationship is important, right? Because yes, if it's institution to institution, yes, you will have to go through some paperwork because of the copyrights and stuff like that, right? But if you have a personal relationship with a faculty member, then the faculty member, for example, me, for example, right, if I'm putting out a video lectures, then I could put a different type of video lectures, right? Different, separate from the ones I give to Cal Poly. And, I don't claim copyrights or I don't think Cal Poly will claim copyrights of those videos, right? Because that's my own personal videos. So for those kind of things, then yeah, you could get it for free without any MOUs, right? And so that's something that we could definitely do. But if you ask some random faculty member, let's say you don't know this faculty member from a university, hey, I know you're doing online synchronous, can you share the video? Most likely they will say no, right? Because that's a property of their university. There's some copyrights involved there, right? So that's why like I said, having this personal relationship with faculty members is important. Building that relationship is important. As an example, I will actually be sharing my video lectures on Polytechnic pretty soon. I just have to separate the videos and edit the videos and so on and so forth. So that's something that I plan to do in the future. Hopefully, in this coming summer, I'm able to do those. So it takes time to do the edits. And I'm by no means I'm not an expert in video editing. So if you see my video, it's all basic videos. Just me talking without all these side effects. Nothing of sort. So anyhow, just the basic means.
All right, thank you, Prof. Taufik. So I think time is almost up. Yeah. Before we end the sessions, maybe Prof. Wisnu or Dr. Hari, do you want to say something or asking something to Prof. Taufik?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nia. Very nice presentation, Prof. Taufik. And also very nice to know that from your awards, you are very familiar with ASEE, American Society for Engineering Education.
Yes.
I took my PhD program in engineering education at Utah State University.
Oh.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we can looking at collaboration in the next future, probably about the so many things we can do in engineering education. And also it is very nice to know that you are you had experience as a teaching graduate teaching assistants and also research graduate research assistant. And I was working also as a research assistant, graduate research assistant at that time, back then. To me, it's a great experience for me to work as that position. But I think here, some of the attendants here, Prof. Taufik, are master students.
Yeah.
Some of them are master students. I'm not sure whether there are changes in the scheme or in, I don't know, maybe the stipend, for example. Maybe would you like to share about the
Sure.
opportunity, because
Yes.
There are some confusion from the student about how to obtain the opportunity, whether they need to contact the department head or they need to contact a potential supervisor, for example.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Taufik.
Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome. Yeah, absolutely. And okay, let me just say bottom line first, right? Bottom line is that you need to be able to compete with students from China and India, mostly, right? As you know, right? in the US, there's so many graduate students, PhD students from India and China, and they were able to take advantage of these, so much money that are being poured into this, teaching assistantship, graduate assistantship, research assistantship. And why not us Indonesians, right? And I believe the problem here is that, number one, there's lack of information about this, right? As you said, right? Number two, we need to be more competitive, right? Meaning, I don't know if this is still true, but as in the past, as soon as I said, okay, you have to have high score in TOEFL and high score in GRE, and right away they're like, oh, so that's not the spirit, right? That's not the what do you call it, the mindset that we want. If there are master students in this audience, you can mark my words, right? If you are going to a PhD program in the US, you could get it for free. All you need to do is to get a good high TOEFL score and high GRE. That's how you can get it, right? Yes, you can contact a potential advisor. Yes, you can contact the department. But at the end of the day, if you get low scores on those, then yes, somebody else is going to get the scholarship, right? So take it from me, because I got my scholarship and I did my a master's degree and my PhD degrees, right? Those were paid by the universities. I didn't have to pay a cent, right? Why? Because I took the test and I already knew the systems, right? I already knew the systems, and I took the test. I try my best to get a good score, right, on the test, and I got the scholarship. And there's plenty of those. And so I think the gap now is that I was fortunate enough to know the systems, but now students in Indonesia, they don't know enough about this system. So how do we bridge the gap? Well, by having, for example, me sharing, the experience, right? I can tell you more about it, and it's just another presentation by itself. In fact, that was the original plan, right? I have with Dr. Nia, and I proposed, a presentation, but we can do it some other times, right? And there's so much to talk about this. And I believe the more that our students know about this, the better, because I really want to see more and more PhD students coming from Indonesia, not being paid by Indonesian government, but being paid by US universities. And we can do that. We all eat rice. Students from China, they eat rice. Students from India, they eat rice. We eat rice too, right? It's not like they're eating different things. So we can compete. We can definitely compete. So yeah. And then lastly, in terms of what do you call it, compensation, right? The difference between graduate assistantship and teaching assistantship and research assistantship, right? Among all three, in my opinion, based on my experience, if you can get research assistantship, that is the best, right? In terms of money, right? In terms of opportunities, research, right? And also in terms of work, right? Because if you're teaching, you'll be dealing with students. I don't know if you want to do that, right? Especially if you're still a student, right? You're still a student and you're dealing with students. That's, tough. But if you're a research assistant, you only deal with research, and you get paid more. And nowadays, to my knowledge, they pay about $2,000 a month. Imagine that.
Wow.
Right? Yes. Back then, when I did my research assistantship, I got $1,100 a month. That was 1993. So now it's about $2,000 a month. And if you're a single, that's plenty of money, right? Plenty of money to have in a month if you're single. Right? So, and then on top of it, you got tuition waiver, meaning you don't have to pay.
Tuition waiver. That's clean.
Yeah, exactly. So study hard and get high TOEFL score and high GRE. We can talk more about this if we have another session on stuff.
For a single, living in US single, not bringing family, that's enough, I think.
Yes, but there's again, this is something that I could share in a different session, but I was married too. I got married when I was a doctoral student. So if I just relied on the income from university which I got at the time is not going to be enough because I was married. But then when you're a PhD student, if you're a doctoral student in general, you can actually work outside of campus, right? And that's what I did. I worked for a company. Right? So and then if you're a doctoral student or PhD student, you only take maybe 2-3 classes per semester, and the remainder of the time you can work, with a company and you get paid actually good.
How did you manage your time, Prof. Taufik?
Sorry?
How did you manage your time? I mean, at the same time, you have to concentrate to accomplish your PhD. At the same time, you have many works deadline by the company. I couldn't imagine. I mean, how did you manage your time?
It was hard. I can tell you it was hard. It was really tough. So I worked during the day, and I did my research during nighttime. So that's what I did. That's what I did almost every day. Right. So I worked from, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 in the company, and then once I got back from my work, then I went to campus, and then that's actually nice because during nighttime there's almost nobody on campus, so it's quiet time, and you can do your research, well during nighttime. So it was tough. But I managed to pass through it. A good 3 years.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I agree to set up another meeting, Dr. Nia.
Okay. Fine.
How about this one?
To encourage our students. Yeah. All right. Maybe Prof. Wisnu, do you want to say something before we end the sessions? Because time is almost finished.
Yes, I just want to say thank you very much, Prof. Taufik. It's very nice you can you share your experience to our student and also our college in Indonesia, so that maybe, as you say, maybe we hope many Indonesia students can get scholarship from not from the government from Indonesia, but from the U.S. university or U.S. government. And I am also agree maybe we can set again about the meeting about because it's just we hope we can continue our collaboration, isn't it, Pak Dr. Hari, because now it become coordinator magister and doctoral maybe, and we can still continue about the collaboration. Thank you again, Prof. Taufik.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor,
Prof. Taufik.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wish I could go to Cal Poly someday.
Inshallah, you will.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room should someday.
Yeah, I hope so. All right. Okay, thank you. We already finished our sessions.
Photo session, Mbak Nia, is there any photo session?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the attendee. And Prof. Taufik, could you please share your presentations, and then the board committee can circulate? Is it fine?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So our committee will send Prof. Taufik's presentation through emails along with the certificate. But later, maybe it takes time, maybe next week. Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you for your attendance to our sessions today. And today is the last sessions of this program. So, right, Dr. Hari and Prof. Wisnu? Yeah. So, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Mas Robi and Mas Hamid, could you please help us?
Okay, I will help to take a picture. Please, 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, thank you.
Okay, nice to meet you, Prof. Taufik. Have a great weekend. Please continue eating more.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Prof. Taufik.
Thank you, everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih buat semuanya juga. Buat para peserta.
Terima kasih, saya live dulu.
Ya, makasih Bu Nia.
Ya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke, teman-teman juga ya.